entrepreneurship is just hitting that ceiling, getting a little bit uncomfortable with that ceiling on your head and not being able to actually break through. So finding the skills within yourself, figuring out what you lack to be able to go and fill those knowledge gaps and do the work that needs to get done to be able to break through that next stage of business.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, the #1 podcast in Colorado Springs. Who is our highlighted sponsor today?
We got Celebrity DJ, a brand new sponsor, just came on the past week. They're local here in Colorado Springs. They've actually done a lot of events I've been a part of before in the past.
No way.
Yeah, great
Nice.
group of people, great group of DJs that they have as well. So we're excited to have them on.
Awesome. Well, today we have an amazing guest, Madeleine Costa with Succeeding Small. How's it going? You've been on before.
I know. Welcome back. This is our 1 year.
Yeah,
comeback,
for sure.
yeah, it's excited to be here.
Yeah. So how's business been?
It's been good. It has been a very interesting past 2 years or so. Really been trying to scale. So we've been really serious about how do we grow the way we want to grow? How am I able to take it to this next level? So it's been a lot of very interesting problems that I've never experienced before, but I am always one for a challenge. So it's been really fun.
I mean, we are problem solvers as business owners.
That is like our best trait.
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
It gets really painful for like when you're hitting certain things in like entrepreneurship, because for me, I've built a lot of businesses to certainly like a certain level because that was my skill level. But then you go through a phase where it's like this very painful growing phase. You have to transcend to like the next level of business owner. And I feel like the past 2 years you've been doing that, and like you've been scaling your businesses up. I mean, not only your clients, but yourself as a business up, right? Talk a little bit more about that because it's been a really cool journey to see you on.
Yeah. There's a very common piece of knowledge in the business world of what got you here will not get you there. So that's a very popular quote and could not be more real when it comes down to that. So a really good example of just where I was. So about 2 years ago, we were a functioning company. We were 5 years into my business, being able to win awards and grow our company and hire a bunch of people. And on the outside, everything was going very well from what you could see on the outside looking in. But inside, we were struggling to make payroll. Every dollar that was coming in was going right back out to pay our bills. So much so that I could not pay myself for a year and just wasn't taking a paycheck. So every dollar that I gave myself from my business, I just had to pour back to be able to make my business still function. And to be in that spot 5 years in, it just became very clear that was not, I'm at that threshold. I'm at that growing pain of that mark where what I was doing was not working anymore. Even though that's what got me to this place, has allowed me to get my business to that position, it just was not going to take me any further. So I had to take a real serious look at how my business was functioning because I was at that breaking point where so much so that I could not even buy my daughter Christmas presents that year, which was just the most heartbreaking thing as a parent. And to be able to be in that business and say, what am I doing if I cannot even buy presents for my daughter? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
This is not worth it. And so I had to seriously evaluate everything that was going on in my business. How was I running it? How are we making money? How do we make money truly? Being able to analyze how do our services equal profit and being able to optimize every single aspect of my company, picking up every stone, fine-tuning every piece of operation to be able to get us into a profitable space. So some things that we did, we ended up raising our prices. We ended up reining in scope. So we were accepting jobs that we were over-delivering our time on. Sometimes by 400% is what we actually ended up discovering. So we were doing way too much work for the amount that we were getting paid for. We reined in scope. I had to let somebody go. I had to fire them for underperformance because I was just making emotional decisions and wanting to keep people on. So really just had to become a no-nonsense person. This business has got to function. I have to grow. I read so many books that year of trying to develop my own skill set, trying to identify all these different holes and patches to be able to patch those holes in my business and take it to that next level. After all of that next year, we ended up doubling our profit.
Nice.
So it worked.
Yeah.
It worked, which is really, really cool and rewarding. And now we're at that next stage. So that's so much of what entrepreneurship is just hitting that ceiling, getting a little bit uncomfortable with that ceiling on your head
Mhm.
and not being able to actually break through. So finding the skills within yourself, figuring out what you lack to be able to go and fill those knowledge gaps and do the work that needs to get done to be able to break through that next stage of business.
We like to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors.
Celebrity DJ.
Celebrity DJ, where you get your events your way. Weddings, corporate events, and more. Let Celebrity DJ be your director of fun. Winner of WeddingWire.com's Couple Choice Award year after year with over 100 5-star reviews. Let Celebrity DJ bring your vision for your special event to life. Online at celebrity-dj.com.
That's celebrity-dj.com.
Home Day.
Enhance your company's benefit package with Home Day. Home Day offers innovative real estate solutions that make home ownership simpler and more accessible for your employees. Discover how Home Day can add value to your benefits program at gethomeday.com.
Neon Pig Creative. Bring brands to life with Neon Pig Creative. Dazzling designs and strategic marketing make businesses stand out. Spark creativity at neonpigcreative.com. That's neonpigcreative.com.
Exponential Impact. Fuel startup success with Exponential Impact. Mentorship, resources, and support available to amplify impact. Join a community of change makers at exponentialimpact.com.
That's exponentialimpact.com.
Fast Signs.
Fast Signs can help you with all your signage and visual marketing needs. Whether you're starting a new business or just need a signage refresh, let Fast Signs help you. Make your statement. That's fastsigns.com. Cars Helping Charities.
Cars Helping Charities is a turnkey fundraising solution for nonprofits. Cars Helping Charities allows your nonprofit to accept vehicle donations, which are sold, and then the funds go to the organization. CHC is partnering with my nonprofit of choice, Mattersville, to help them raise funds through vehicle donations. Please consider donating your car to support Mattersville. CHC will pick up any car, an old clunker you have sitting in your driveway, or a car you just don't feel like selling anymore. Make sure to visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org.
Now let's get back to the show.
This is what this show is all about. Like somebody actually being transparent about their journey and not just like all sunshine and rainbows about everything. Because every entrepreneur, I don't care who they are, goes through those steps, goes through those, like having a hard time making a payroll or buying or paying themselves or whatever it might be. And it's just so cool to see like you go through that and kind of work through that painful time. It's so painful. So like describe to us too about like, okay, you're going through this hard time, you're reading all the books, and eventually there's a little bit of a spark. And eventually you start really taking off. Like describe that feeling when it's so dark, you weren't able to buy presents for your little girl. And then it starts taking off. How did that feel?
Yeah. I was so mad. That was the emotion that I felt. So much so that I almost quit. Like I was so mad at my business. So it was a really rough spot. And to be able to say to myself that I'm not done yet. My work is not finished. Succeeding Small is not done. We still have so much more to give. And I'm going to work really, really hard to be able to see if it can get to that point. You only fail if you quit. You can keep on trying and see where it gets that. And if it's not filling you up, if it's not fulfilling you in that aspect, if it's not serving you, then you can make a choice to pivot and turn away. But I was not done yet. So that sheer stubbornness is what it was able to get me past that point and really try what I had to become a different person. How do I change myself and continue to grow and adapt to be able to accomplish what I know my business is capable of, what I know I am capable of? So it was a real fun times being able to navigate that.
Yeah.
And it's still, I can be being completely honest with you. I do not feel safe yet. I don't feel like I'm out. You know, I am definitely still in that messy middle. I feel like I'm so close to being able to break out of that scaling kind of very painful stage. But that's what this is. Scaling is experimentation. It's being able to figure out how do you grow? How do you make it to the next level? And being able to consistently optimize to get better and better at that point. So
what behaviors did you change in your life? Like, was there certain daily activities that you were doing prior to changing your business that you kind of switched up? Yeah.
So the best way that I can describe it, and I mentioned it earlier, was I became no nonsense. It's like, this is what I want. These are the goals that I've set, and I am going to accomplish them, and I'm going to figure out how to do it. So a lot of what I was doing, which again is a hard aspect to change yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's your identity, it's the story you tell yourself, it's the way you feel about yourself. But I had been making a lot of emotional decisions, especially around people, around my team, around my clients. I think it's one of my superpowers to be able to be empathetic and understand people and their situations. But when it comes down to the numbers, the black and white at the end of the day, and being able to make decisions that benefit my business and being able to do so objectively versus being able to hold on to emotional decisions or being able to do things that you know are not going to benefit you, but you don't have that courage to make that decision or anything like that. So a lot of that kind of passed on. And I am a very soft-spoken person. I love building relationships. I love people so much. I understand people so deeply. And so to be able to have that kind of harder shell, that more objective perspective of really stepping into the shoes as a CEO and having those conversations. So during that time period, I fired a client. I had to fire many people. I have made lots of people cry, which is horrible and just the most heartbreaking thing. But I can do so, and I can be kind, and I can be myself, and I can advocate for people, and I can advocate for my business all at the same time. Those things don't have to combat each other. They can both coexist. So a big book that taught me that was called Radical Candor, which is about how you can be able to have the hard conversations and still build great connections with people. And you have to have two at the same time to be able to give feedback, to receive feedback, whether you're dealing with your team, whether you're dealing with anybody else in your circle, whether you're dealing with clients. So that has been a really powerful book for me to be able to be a little bit more assertive and to be able to make more logic-based decisions for the good of my business versus for the good of other people.
Yeah, I always describe, I'm very similar to you as far as with people. Like I had a very hard time like letting go of people I really cared about. When I look back at it, I was just thinking about like my first big business, the Tiny House Festival, when you were talking. And I realized like my first like 5 hires were all women. And the people that I have the softest heart for are women because I'm a mama's boy, I guess. And so I had a hard time being like, these people are not cutting it. And I would have to wait for them to quit or something. Like I just couldn't fire people. And I feel like in entrepreneurship, like that side of me, I mean, I feel like it was like a brake pad that kind of was starting to wear. And finally I was like hitting the metal a little bit of the pad. And I was like, okay, like in order to transcend to the next level, I have to be, like you said, more black and white because it is a numbers thing. And it is like business is what my mom always says to me, which is funny because my mom's pretty masculine energy. She's kind of like black and white, and like because she was a businesswoman too, and she went through that same process of being very nice until she realized you can't be too nice and emotional about things like that. You got to make them based off business decisions, right? And so it's cool to see your journey and where you've come from. And I wanted to also know, like, I didn't know if like when things started taking off the next year, did it take off right away, or was it like a progressive through the years, started coasting, or was it just like one big client came on, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm through it? Like, talk a little bit more about that feeling.
Yeah. No, it took us the entire year. It was tiny little tweaks. There was no big glaring problem, which was so annoying because you can fix a big problem. But how I like to think of it is it was the ship in the ocean and we had a ton of little holes and our boat was sinking and we would plug one only to find another one. That's what it was like. So a lot of it was operational inefficiencies inside our company. And me, I am very much a visionary of being able to, I have great big ideas that I am so excited about. I'm a dreamer. My head, it lives in the clouds. I could think of anything. I could solve any problems, that sort of thing. So being able to bring me down to earth and actually say, okay, this is the dream. How do we accomplish it? Is a challenge for me and just how I am built. So I had in that journey, in that growth period, and something I'm always trying to do is learn more about operations. How do I become a systems oriented person? How do I adopt those skill sets? One, and then figure out where I am weak. What am I not so great at? And how can I surround myself with people and systems to be able to complement my weaknesses, because that's how I'm ultimately going to build and scale a company. I'm never going to be fantastic as an operations manager. I can try really, really hard, and I will try it every day to be better and better. But it is not my zone of genius. It is not what I thrive at. It takes so much energy for me and makes me so mad.
Same.
So
I'm the same way.
if I can hire somebody with that skill set, then I can let them do what they love and what fills them up. And then if we're both acting in that place of passion, then we can become unstoppable from that perspective. And at least I have the know-how to hold them accountable, to write a good job description, be able to hold them accountable to what they are doing every single day, and still be able to have a productive relationship where each of us get to do what we do best.
It's literally the first thing I ever highlighted in that book, 3 Feet from Gold. I don't know if you've heard of that book before. It's based off of a Napoleon Hill story. I know you know about it.
I know
you
the
met the author.
I know the author. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very famous book. It's called 3 Feet from Gold. It's like
That's so
a spin-off of like Napoleon Hill's.
It's a
book.
spin-off from well, it's not a spin-off. Sharon Lecter also co-wrote that. She actually co-wrote it with Greg Reed, and Sharon Lecter did Rich Dad Poor Dad
Oh, wow.
with
that's so
Robert
cool.
Kiyosaki.
It's
Yeah.
such a good book. The first thing I remember, I was like 20 years old, and I got that book. And the very first thing I ever highlighted it, you always remember the first thing you highlight from a book. It was work your strengths, hire your weaknesses. I was like, yes, I get that. Like, it makes complete sense, because I knew where my strengths lied, and I knew that business was going to expose. Business is the best at exposing your weaknesses for whatever reason, right? Like all of us have our weaknesses. If you're in business long enough, it's going to expose all of that.
Yeah.
And so it's so smart of you to like what you've done. And I'm just curious, and this is kind of regarding the start of you and your business, but how come you never took on a partner or anything like that? Because we interview a lot of people, and a lot of them are like, hey, I started this business. I had like 2 or 3 partners, and maybe now it's just me, or maybe it's like me and one other partner or whatever. But a lot of them start with partners. How come you never took one on?
Because partners suck.
I learned my lesson. I actually, so when my first business was a clothing boutique that I've talked about with you guys before. And I actually started that with my best friend. So there were, I'm trying to think about how long it lasted, if that can foreshadow the end of it. But I love my best friend. She's still my best friend. And we started that business together and put in 50% of both of the financial investment, and we're going to split the work half and half. We lived in different states, so that was a challenge to begin with. We were trying to operate a clothing boutique. We ordered the clothes, we would split the inventory, we would go and both do different efforts to be able to generate revenue. And I loved it. I completely fell in love with the aspect of not only running a business, but doing the things, being able to market, to build the website, to choose the clothes. Like, I love being able to see the puzzle and be able to put all the pieces together. That's just my favorite thing about entrepreneurship. And so I had such a big passion for what I was doing. And it was a hobby for her.
Yeah.
And so that immediate intent just did not work out together, where I was pouring a ton of effort into it because I loved it. This was so cool. And it was not the same level of energy for her. And so we luckily ended things amicably. We both saw that coming. We were able to split it. I took over the business and continued to run it for years. And she was no longer a part of it. And she's still my friend. And I still, but that's very rare to have that level of outcome that we have. But we have been friends for the majority of our lives and love each other so much. So that wasn't a breaking point. But that taught me a very important lesson, that no one is going to care about your business as much as you do. It's a very sad fact to be able to have. And I'm reminded of that quite frequently. Like, nobody is going to get this where I want it to go as much as me. And so being able to have that fuel you into your business of, this is my passion. This is what I want. I see that vision of success and I'm going to get it. Being able to fully commit and dive in. So that has been my perspective of entrepreneurship. I've never experienced partnerships in any other way, but I would not do it. I would so much rather be able to hire a CEO.
For sure.
And still be the one making the decisions if I ever did any sort of joint venture going forward, but who's to say how that'll end up if that ever happens. But
yeah. And are you hitting year 7? Is that where you're at now?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, congratulations. That's unbelievable. There's not many, I don't even know what the stats are about being in business 7 years, but I know what it is, like up to 5, and it's not it's not great success rate, right?
No, half of businesses don't make it past 5 years.
And you can even attest to it being one of your hardest years was your 5th year, right?
Yep, and I almost threw in the towel, so I was almost a statistic.
Yeah, my hardest year was my 5th year, and I've decided to actually mostly step away from the business.
Yeah.
Although this month surprisingly has brought in like $2,000 from Vehement Visuals, and I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even try it.
That's funny.
Yeah. We're gonna take a quick break and thank our sponsors.
Storybook Destinations.
Storybook Destinations makes planning your magical Disney vacation effortless. From Disney cruises to Disneyland and beyond, they handle all the details so you can focus on the fun. Visit StorybookDestinations.com to start your adventure. That's StorybookDestinations.com.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Skip the healthcare hassle with Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Direct primary care for a simple monthly fee, putting health first. No insurance needed. Experience personalized care that's as unique as every individual. Visit PinnacleAPC.com to learn more. That's PinnacleAPC.com. Franchise succeed.
Grow any business with Franchise Succeed. From development to expansion, turning small businesses into national brands through franchising. Start scaling up with a free consultation at franchisesucceed.com today. That's franchisesucceed.com.
Planet Duct. Breathe easier with Planet Duct, Colorado Springs' premier air duct cleaning service. Powerful vacuum trucks rid homes of allergens and dust. Clear the air by visiting planetduct.com. That's planetduct.com.
Epic Eyewear. Elevate style with Epic Eyewear. Innovative designs meet unmatched quality, ensuring a great look and better vision. Discover your next pair of shades at epiceyewear.com. That's epiceyewear.com, spelled EPOCH, eyewear.com.
And we're running a special discount right now, Andrew. It's COSBP 15 for 15% off your
15% off your freaking order at epiceyewear.com. We're wearing the sunglasses right now. If you're watching, listening on the audio, definitely check out the video so you can see and check out how epic they are. EPOCH.
Eyewear.com.
Eyewear.com.
Now we will get back to this episode. Would you have started if you knew how hard it was going to be? And like, I was so ignorant and blind, I probably wouldn't have cared because I would just been like, yeah, it's that hard. But I know, like, for me, like, no matter how hard you think it is to get started, like, if you're just describing this to somebody and they're like, hey, I want to get into entrepreneurship, like, I want to go all in or whatever it might be. And you're like, I like to be frank with them too about it. Like, hey, it's the most gratifying thing you will ever do with your life.
You're going to learn so much about yourself too.
You're going to learn so much about yourselves. But it's going to be by far the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And you're going to face yourself in the middle of the night, waking up 2 a.m., walking around, pulling your hair out, wondering about whatever, a lot, often. So I'm not saying fall in love with that, but just accept that as a reality. What would you say to, I guess, that harsh advice I would give somebody? Are you in the same boat, or how do you feel about that?
So there's a nonprofit organization called Thrive Networks here in Colorado Springs. So it's an entrepreneurial incubator program. And so I am honored to be able to go and teach marketing at that platform every quarter to a bunch of different entrepreneurs. And this year I was a part of the selection committee. So we got to review all the applications and be able to get past people onto the program, which was so much fun. And someone said something so insightful. We were talking about the concept of business models, because having a viable business model is step one, right, to success. Yeah. And so we were debating the concept of these business models and wanting to dismiss potential applicants based on the business model that they've chosen. That's not scalable. That's not sustainable. I don't think there's a demand for that. Thinking about those levels of conversations. And someone said that we, as Thrive Networks, we are growing people, not businesses. And so sometimes those business owners, those people who are taking this program, don't start their business right away. They start it 2 years later. Sometimes they don't even go and succeed with the business that they have chosen to go through the program with. They start something else. And so they are still getting the skills, getting the knowledge, learning how to be the person they need to be able to succeed, whether or not they end up running with the business that they choose or not. So that was a real mind changer for me of we are investing in people as leaders, as marketers, as entrepreneurs, as community members. We're investing in people. And so I think entrepreneurship is a great exercise of self-development. And I think you learn real quick if this is the life path for you or not. I do not think it's for everyone. For example, it was not for my husband. So he started a business because his family owns a business. My family owns a business. I own a business. So he was surrounded by entrepreneurship, just like I was. And so that seemed like the natural step for him, like it was for me. Well, he hated it. He hated having to make those tough calls. He hated having unstructured time. He hated having to figure out how to solve those problems and be able to go out and network and do all of the steps that it took to hustle to grow a business. He was really good at what he did. He was a math tutor and ran a math tutoring company, but did not want to scale it, and just everything about it drained him except the actual work. And so it took him a couple years to realize that entrepreneurship was not the path for him, that he needed structure. And he now has a job, and he is happier than he's ever been in his life. Being able to have something that suits his personality and his needs and his drives has been a game changer for him. So I would before that transition, I would say, like, you don't need a 9-to-5, like quit, be an entrepreneur. It's great. But sometimes it's not. It depends on what you need out of life and out of your career to be able to support you as a human. But nonetheless, entrepreneurship is a great experience. Very, very painful. But you're going to get something out of it.
For sure.
Yeah, it's so true. That's definitely true. I think it's good to tell people that too. It's like, it's going to be a lot harder than you think. It's not going to be all sunshine. Because I think a lot of people see the outside of what it looks like. You're an entrepreneur, you run your own business, maybe you make your own hours, but they don't understand like the 80, 90 hour weeks or whatever, how long, even longer sometimes, that you put in to even get to that level, or whatever it might be, how you're structuring your schedule out. And you're right. No one's ever going to care more about their business than the business owners, right? And so it's just a whole nother game. And again, a whole nother sacrifice of time. A lot of people don't want to sacrifice all that time. That's completely fine, you know? So I definitely think it's definitely a special breed, and it's cool. I mean, 7 years in your business, that's very, very cool. And then last year we were talking to you because you received an award. Talk a little bit more about that, because we recapped your award last year, but that was really cool. That was 2023, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I got the Young Entrepreneur Year of the Year Award for the Colorado Springs Business Journal and a couple other organizations. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, that was such an honor. It was a application process. And so some of the questions that it was asking was, how have you been innovative in business? And so I talked about finding the need to scale, especially as a young entrepreneur. I started my business when I was 21, and being able to hire people onto my company to be able to do the work that I actually needed to do. Well, you have a couple options when it comes to hiring people. You can hire salaried people with benefits, and that was not where I was. And so how do I innovate a solution to be able to get staff into my business, to be able to delegate to, outsource to? And so I ended up starting an internship program, which I've talked about a little bit before. So it started very casually for me to be able to take somebody on and teach them, but I developed that later into a full-blown internship program where I built a curriculum, and I partner with universities all over the country to be able to teach students digital marketing. It's so much fun. I love it. They get academic credit out of the deal at whatever college they're participating in. So it's really cool. But that was my way of innovating employees and a staff and a team of I can teach anything I want. So being able to teach somebody the skills, be able to have them deliver the work, and be able to do it in a cost-effective way where it could also teach me how to be a leader, how to lead and instruct and teach and build systems and hold people accountable. So I was learning a ton out of it. They were learning a ton out of it, and I was getting work done at a more productive rate than just myself. So that was one of the questions that I put in there that I talked about.
You didn't have budget, but you had time. So you used the time to pay for the people.
Exactly. Yes. And that's a really big shift, I think, when you do scale your business, is asking yourself that question. Do I have the time, or do I have a little bit of money? And being able to invest that money actually gets you back your time. So there's a beautiful book called Buy Back Your Time. It's exactly those principles, but that's a really good example of what you're able to do. So if you are spending all your time answering your own emails, imagine what you could do if you just paid a little bit of money to hire a VA to answer those for you. Well, then you get 2 hours of your day back. How can you reinvest those 2 hours to be a better person of yourself? How can you use that time to go do the more important actions like working on your business? How can you use it to go get more clients to pay for the VA? How can you use it to invest in yourself and the education you need to be a better leader? How can you use it to rest, to be able to rejuvenate yourself and come back and show up better and better every single day?
Yeah. Is buy back your time, Dan Martell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so.
We mentioned his quote of 80% done for you is 100% awesome.
Yes.
We love that.
Right?
It is 100% awesome.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us, especially like as entrepreneurs starting out, we're become perfectionists. And so it's very hard to let go of that, whatever piece that is that you're delegating down the line. But it is 100% awesome once you realize what you can be doing with that. Yeah. Even if it's not even doing something else for your business, going to your kid's first day of school, or like going to a play, or like going out to dinner with your significant other, or just enjoying a hike at Palmer Park, or something that's super fun that you need to unwind and unplug and reset.
Yeah.
It's so worth it. So I love that you mentioned Dan Martell. He's awesome. Christopher Nicolason got us onto it. I know he's a good friend of yours as well, right?
Yes, I have learned so much for him and love being in the same room as him. He has so much insight and knowledge. And I think that is one of the many admirable things about him is just his love for knowledge. Anything that comes out of his mouth, you're going to want to write down to be able to remember later. He's just a wealth of knowledge and a great person.
He used to be a teacher, actually. I think it comes from that a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He is so plugged in too, because he was talking about, I mean, Andrew knows better than me, but like we got coffee like a month ago, but we sat there for like 4 hours talking about just books and like conferences and like some of our favorite people we listen to, and we're syncing up on all those things, right? He's also talking about the conferences he goes to, and I have not been to a lot of. I mean, we're talking like the Gary V, like VCon, and
they're
stuff
doing
like
the
that.
School of Greatness, Lewis Howe's conference this weekend. Actually, I work for Springs Law Group, so yeah,
Yes.
I think you knew that.
So just amazing, right? And it's just so cool, and like for our viewers, you know, that are local here in Colorado Springs, like if you ever have a chance, and he probably would grab a cup of coffee with you. Yeah, Christopher Nicolason is an unbelievable person in town, luminary in town.
Yeah, check out his episode number 220 something.
I remember the number.
I know. If you remember that, I would have been astonished.
I should have just said 222 and hoped it was right. It's 220 something though.
So funny.
But yeah, he's so great, and he thinks so highly of you. Just heads up. I mean, he really does adore you.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm honored. Yeah.
He's just a great person. So anyway, get linked up with him, if DM him or go through us, and he'd be a great person for you guys to grab a cup of coffee with. He actually never been to Wayfinder. I took him to Wayfinder. I know. I'm like,
Wayfinder's the best.
It's the goat of coffee shops.
I think he lives near there too. So
yeah, I couldn't believe it.
That is my second house. Is Wayfinder.
Oh yeah,
literally your next door neighbor.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about systems. Because you have really pushed into that more than anybody I know, especially in the past 2 years. You're talking about through this growing phase and you scaling your business and implementing systems. So talk a little bit more about, like, for the business owner out there that maybe doesn't know what you're talking about too much. Maybe it's, they're just getting started. Maybe they're a year or two in. Maybe they're just hearing about systems, but also talk about like maybe some of the tech stacks that you've used to help you with your systems, like ClickUp or whatever you want to talk about. Cause you've helped me with so much, softwares and different things, different tools that we use back and forth as marketing agency owners.
Yep. Yeah. So I have been really nerding out about this lately, which is so funny to say, because I would never have thought I would have been the person to say I get excited about systems and processes. That would have never been a part of my identity whatsoever. But I think on that note, just a little sidebar, I think what you tell yourself, you believe. And so if you're telling yourself constantly, I'm not good at math, or I can't do sports, or I'm not good at systems and processes, well, you're probably not going to be, because you keep telling yourself that. So get rid of that lie, tell yourself a different story. But in regards to the concept of systems and processes, so the definition of scale when you're scaling a business is to be able to grow your revenue without a significant increase in costs. And so how do you look at your organization and see, how can I get bigger without having to have my expenses grow the same way? How can I increase my operational efficiencies? How can I fine tune all those little screws to be able to get it going where I need to be able to grow to that next level? So a big piece of that puzzle is by having systems in place, meaning that you are doing things like documenting your work. How do you do things? Those documentations are called SOPs, or standard operating procedures. So if there are things that you do every single day, I was just actually, I have a podcast too. And so I was recording an episode today with a landscaping company, and we were talking about SOPs. And that topic for a landscaper was very interesting. I honestly never imagined that a landscape company would have SOPs. But he was talking about how he literally has instruction manuals for how to build a retaining wall. Isn't that interesting? So he was documenting this. These are the steps that you take. These are the materials you use. This is the steps that you take to be able to build it. Here's your fail-safe for how you check it and make sure it's solid. Here's what you do from A to Z. And he has it in a manual. He has it written, and he also has videos recorded so that as people can go and watch those videos to be able to learn it. So being able to standardize trade work, being able to standardize creative work in our space, being able to design websites and standardize how you actually do something creative. You can systematize and write SOPs for onboarding employees, for onboarding clients, for these are the forms that people need to fill out. Here's the steps we take. Here's the onboarding emails we write. You can document everything that you do because you do it all anyway. You do it every single day and you do it over and over and over again. So if you have something called an SOP, then you're able to take what you do on a regular basis, put it into whatever format you want, and be able to refer to it. That not only saves you time and energy because you're not having to write that email from memory for the 1500th time, you're actually just copying and pasting it. So you can go and make that quick decision for yourself. And then it takes a step further when you hire someone, because then that new employee can go use those SOPs to be able to go and do the same work without having to pick up the phone and call you and ask you questions. How do I do this? What's my login? How do I figure out how to build this retaining wall? I'm running into a problem. What do I do? Because employees want to impress you. They want to help you. They don't want to mess up. And so they bother you. So if you have strong documentation in place, you can then start to scale. You can start growing those revenues without having to be able to spend so much of your time being able to answer questions and do things over and over and over again. The systems are there to protect you and build that foundation to allow you to grow. And it's really hard to build those things at the same time. So it's really helpful to do those as soon as you can. Like if you are running your business and you have not created your first SOP, go do that tomorrow. Go figure out what is something that I do every single day that I could write down, that I could store in a Google Drive. What could I be able to do today that will save me time tomorrow?
And you use a system called, well, a lot of it, at least for you, like your Bible system, I guess, is ClickUp, right?
Yes.
And I started recently using ClickUp. I don't even know if I told Andrew this.
I've used it before.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it always has new things that are getting implemented into it. So like I was going in there and creating SOPs for my newer company, Red Mojo. And it has like an AI assisted technology to help you with your SOP. Say you haven't like written it out, like a 20-page SOP on whatever it might be.
I used it before ChatGPT came out, actually. So they
did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great. And like she has a really great system of all that already incorporated into ClickUp. You've been using that for 4 or 5 years now, right? Something like that.
Probably 6 now, honestly. It's
Wow.
been, we did it very early on. Yeah. So ClickUp is our project management software, and that's where everything lives. We use Google Drive a lot too for docs and sheets and things, but ClickUp can actually store those. You can create docs within ClickUp too, which is really cool, or it can sync with your Google Drive. But ClickUp is a really cool tool because it's very customizable. So you can really build it to suit your organizational needs. And you can honestly create anything you want. Like one time we built a CRM with ClickUp. It didn't work very well. I wouldn't recommend it, but like we actually did it. You could actually build stuff in ClickUp that you would never even imagine. So it's so cool. It's very open-ended. That being said, it's a little on the more harder to use side because it is so free form. So like something like Trello seems to be easier for people because it's very drag and drop and not a lot. It can still get customizable, but ClickUp is very open-ended.
We use Airtable.
Yeah.
I think it's similar, right?
Yeah, so that's where all of my SOPs live. So we have SOPs for how we do our services, for how we do admin work and operations work, for how we onboard employees, like I was talking about. So I've got a new employee space, and it has a bunch of tasks that go off whenever I duplicate a space. So it'll say, have them sign this paperwork and schedule their trainings. And here are the tasks that they need to accomplish to be onboarded as an employee. Have them fill out this form. That sort of thing. So I've got it automated. It just runs as normal. So it's really, really cool. And the same thing with clients, being able to duplicate a client space. So we've actually standardized all of our services and how we do them. So I've got a template space for my 3 tiers of SEO. So last year I built this out because it was working on an outdated system. It was very open-ended. We pretty much had the same rotation of tasks, and it was up to the SEO strategist to be able to determine what he was going to do, how they were going to do the combination of things. And so I ended up building a 12-month SEO template space for times three tiers of what we did and offered. So now I have tasks for every single month with SOPs inside them. So
Nice.
something that we do is keyword research. So I've got an SOP on how we do keyword research. That way it's standardized. I've got details of please attach this type of report here to this task. That way we're able to have our project manager come in, take a peek at it, share it with a client, that sort of thing. So we've got 12 months worth of tasks and it's really fun. I'm very excited about it and still leaves that little bit of room for strategy. So I've got things like strategy specific tasks where this one's for you, like have fun, do what you need to do. But this system is built to be able to be adaptable, to grow and change, to swap out. Still has that strategist eye to make sure that they're doing what needs to be done, but it's standardized. So I could literally hire an intern today and they would be able to function and deliver SEO just like my lead strategist.
You just
So
have
it's
to
so
teach them
cool.
how to use ClickUp, and that's it. Then they're off to the
Right.
races.
And yeah, as long as they can read.
Yeah, sweet. Then, yeah.
they could figure it out. So it's so cool to be able to take what you do, what you think is impossible, to be able to systematize and know that you can do it. And this will benefit this will save you time, this will save you energy, this will empower and teach other people, and it will get great results because you took that little bit of time to work on your business, to build that system, and now you get to go do other things.
It's so true. When I was at Madwire, they had a legend, like infamous, like a 6-week training program on becoming a marketing executive and taking on clients. And it was exactly that. Like they're just plug us in and we would go through this 6-month huge program. It was like really rigorous and it had everything automated in it. It was super awesome just to think about. Like, I was like, man, there's nothing I need to do besides plug into this course. And I can essentially finish 6 weeks in 4 weeks if I really just hammer it hard or whatever it might be. But like at the end of that, I felt like I got like my black belt in marketing. I felt like, as opposed to like where my knowledge was at that point. I was like, okay, I thought I knew marketing, but I guess I didn't at all, and like through that process. I mean, back then that was like being certified in Google Ads and analytics and display, like all the different things. And then same thing with Facebook Blueprint, like all those different things as well. And so by the end of it, I was like a certified advertiser and licensed to do those different things. And I knew their system and I knew their manifesto. And they have like a Friday chant that they do like as a team. Like you had to learn that too. Yeah. And it had like so much stuff in there. I mean, even had like famous TED Talks, like Simon Sinek was in there. I was like, oh, I know Simon Sinek. And like they just incorporated their culture and their manifesto of like why their big thing was we're the best. We know we're the best, but it's because we work and we outwork people and we're the best for a reason. It's not because we just automatically you're hired, you're the best. Like you got to earn that through this process. And it does a lot for an employee coming in there being like, man, I'm here. I finally made it, but holy cow. Now I know why they're as good as they are, is because they're really well trained. And so it's cool to see what you're doing because you're kind of building that same kind of thing with your business too. And you're kind of highlighting it. SEO, what else let's start with this. Succeeding small. I mean, it's changed services over the years because we throw business back and forth every once in a while. Talk a little bit about that too as well, because that's pretty interesting. You definitely have refined your business as well over the years.
Yeah. So when I started my company, it's just me and I could do many things. And so I offered many things and being able to just take on what I wanted because I needed to learn. I needed to grow and learn and continue to push myself and evolve. Needed to make money because I was running and operating a business and was fulfilling out my mission, which was to serve small businesses. And so how being able to do that in the beginning was very advantageous for me to be able to go and do all the things and be all the people. Realized quickly the things that I did not enjoy doing or the things that I was not good at, and being able to slowly chalk that down. So this year, when I was setting goals for this year, for 2024, I wanted to dive headfirst into scale. This year has always been about preparing for scale. How do I lay that foundation to properly grow and be able to take in the level of work that I'm anticipating in 2025 for all the groundwork that we were laying in 2024? That was my vision. But I also had to reconnect with my business and why was I doing this? Because this was a year after my horrendous experience. And I had to reflect on like, what do I actually want my business to accomplish? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do as my service mix? Who do I want to serve? And so I reevaluated my mission and we are now, so Succeeding Small's mission is now turning entrepreneurial dreams into small business success stories. So very broad, and we have multiple brand divisions under that, which I'm really excited about. But being the marketing agency, we got really serious about who our target audience was, who we wanted to serve, and what services that we were absolutely the best at, undoubtedly. And those things were SEO, Google Ads, and website design. We used to offer things like social media. We offered social media ads. We offered branding. And pretty much I did anything that somebody would ask me to. Design a random flyer. I can do that. I have the capability to do whatever I need to do, and I will do it. But in order to grow at a significant level, being able to hone in on those things that truly drive you, that light you up, that fill you with passion, and that you can deliver exceptional results in, and then get really, really, really good at those. Be able to have the systems to be able to deliver them without blinking an eye, that anybody could go in and deliver those things. So that's what this year was all about, is how do we narrow our focus and strive for excellence and be able to build that operational foundation, that systems to be able to back us up and ramp up. So that way, when we do onboard 3 SEO clients every single month, we got it. We've got all of the systems in place to be able to handle those things. If we need to hire 3 people at once, we can do it. We've got the systems and the foundation to be able to do something like that. So that's what my mission has been this year, is just laying that foundation.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool that you can say something like that, right? Do you think, like, even from like last year talking to us, that you'd be able to be in a place a year from then to say what you're saying now?
Well, have been I'm very much an overachiever and set really high expectations for myself. So I could, when I was talking to you guys a year ago, I could see a little bit of what I wanted and what I was capable of. But I really I ended up taking a CEO retreat. So I ended up getting a hotel for 2 nights in Denver, and just getting out of my day-to-day, because I was still struggling. I was still getting out of that space, both mentally and in my business. And like I said, needed to reconnect with my business. Why am I doing this? Do I need to quit? Or what is going to be the next evolution of this? So being able to step away and be able to dedicate literal 48 hours to growing my business, that was the best decision I ever made. I would recommend that to anybody. And that retreat was where I ended up mapping out my goals. I came up with my mission. I came up with my brand divisions of what is this going to look like in 10 years? How am I going to grow and evolve? How do I get excited about these things again? What do I love doing? How do I want to spend my time versus how do I want my company to grow and thrive and function? So it was really restorative for me to be able to see past that point. And now I've got a lot more clarity on what we're doing, because my original vision got me to year 5. And I hadn't thought past that. So now I get to project out the next 5 years, and then I'll do it again for the next year and the next year. So that's been fun.
Dang, that's awesome. I remember when you were going on that retreat too, and you were telling me about it. I think that's so important. And you seem like, even though you're an entrepreneur and you're the only business owner, you seem like you've been well connected with other colleagues, other business owners, maybe people who are a few steps ahead of you, great mentors, perhaps even coaches. And so talk a little bit more about that, like your network of people, because you're well-spoken, and like for someone to take like a retreat, go to get a hotel over the night and kind of go over, just like break down their business and have no distractions. Yeah, it seems simple to us. We're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But like for you to inherently do that, like, is really cool. But it's also like, I'm sure you have people that you're plugged into to help give guidance to the next steps at scale for your business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so grateful for my community. And I've had to be very intentional on how I build it. So I, like I mentioned on our very first episode, started my business in a networking group. And so I grew my business networking and had the absolute privilege and honor of learning from other people. And at one point around that 5-year mark, probably, is where I started having to get real serious about my time and about who I was surrounding myself with, because I wanted to be something bigger than myself. I want to grow my business. I love the art of growing businesses. I think it's so fascinating, and love being surrounded with people who share that zeal and that passion. It fills you up. So a lot of incredible business books will give you this advice of, you want to be able to surround yourself with the people that you want to be. staying within your own circle of people who are just like you, it's not going to get you very far. You're never going to change. If you surround yourself with the people who are in their comfort zone or perhaps a few steps back, like you eventually are going to you're going to change and adapt and want bigger things. And being able to let go of that circle of those people that you spend the most time with is really, really hard. So I've been studying a lot about money mindset and being able to change and grow, as well as business mindset and kind of that mastery of how do you invest in that personal development and transform yourself to be able to accomplish your goals. And that's a big piece of it, is being real conscious about who is in your network, who is talking about how broke they are and about how they, don't want to spend money because it's too much of an expense. It's too much of a hassle. They don't want to do that. But I want to make more money to give me more time and be able to continually recycle those things. And so being able to see who you're surrounded with and make sure that that is the right group of people to be able to push you to the next level. It's been really, really hard for me. I have not found it yet at this stage of what I'm doing. I probably need to join a mastermind or start a mastermind, which has been annoying me lately. So that's
do
probably
what you did with the internship thing, but for mastermind.
Yes, I know. I just have to get myself to do it.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah.
But that's like the next little blip if I can't find it, I need to create it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So I am so grateful every single step. I'm so grateful for the community that got me there and for the business coaches that got me there. So I've had 3 business coaches in my history. And I've learned so much from them. And every time I hit that ceiling of like, I'm at my limit when it comes down to my knowledge and what I've been able to do so far. I don't know what to do next. That's usually my sign that I need a third party. I need to be able to get that business coach, be able to get that advice. If I don't have a business coach, I start asking every single person how they deal with that situation, just to be able to soak up that knowledge, get their perspective, be able to get as much information as I can from both people and books and education to be able to continue to make the next steps going forward. So grateful. They got me to where I am. I would be nowhere near without the people and the support and the education that I've been able to get.
Yeah, that's well put. Is there any, I know you read a lot, but is there anybody else like author wise or like even YouTube, like person that you follow and you're like, whatever they say, like right now you're plugged in, you're loving it. And like, maybe they're in the marketing space. You're like, I love exactly how they incorporate this. I have a lot of them. We talk about it all the time, you and I, but for our audience at home, like who do you plug into to like beyond just like your immediate Colorado Springs community or Colorado community?
Yeah. So, always love of mine will be, it's called the Goal Digger Podcast by Jenna Kutcher. I love Jenna Kutcher. I want to be her when I grow up. I love her so much, and I avidly consume her content, but her content is for starting small businesses and it's no longer for scaling businesses. So she produces a lot of content about how do you know when it's right to hire your first person, not how to hire your 10th person, which is a very different business discussion. Totally. So I've been on a journey lately trying to find more avenues for scaling. There's a lot of books out there. And so this is actually the gap that I wanted to fill with my podcast, because there's not a lot of resources out there for people who are scaling. There's a wealth of information for starting your businesses. There's government resources, there's podcasts and speakers and resources and networking groups, all to be able to support you when you're starting and kind of getting your feet, testing that viable business model, being able to make that first sale, be able to grow those essential skills to be able to start your business and get it off the ground. There's very little when it comes down to how do you scale? How do you get to 7 figures? How do you get past 7 figures? How are you able to manage a team of 10, 20, 30 people? How are you able to lead at that level? How are you able to sell at that level? How do you grow a business that is larger than yourself? There's very little information. And so I have been on an active hunt trying to consume every piece of content I can, because I know that that's what I want for myself. So there's very little. There's not one go-to place for scaling a small business. So
I feel you.
I made it.
You gotta. Well, you're gonna be one of the people, because that is a blue ocean for sure. And I would say that I've mentioned him to you before. Ravi Abuvala, Ravi is his name. Ravi Abuvala, VALA. He's a stud, and he's actually interviewed Dan Martell. He's had a podcast with Dan Martell before. He's younger. He's probably, I think he's like a year older than me. He might be like 34, 35 or something like that. That's all his content is about. But he's the only one, really, that's doing something like that. And it's so crazy because you're right. There's so many entrepreneurs that are irking for something to help them get to the next level, or they're stuck and they either quit or, they just stay stagnant because they don't know how else to go up or scale up. And so his business is called, it's kind of funny. It sounds like yours, but it's Scaling with Systems. It's his business. And so his whole thing is like building the systems to scale. And all of his content's like different types of tech stacks, in fact, how to build them and just like different types of things. And so he has like a whole community behind people who are wanting to get to that level. And so he has like a low level offer of like $100 a month versus like a high end, consulting thing, whatever. But he's someone I've really plugged into for like a little over a year now. And that's how I got Apollo. Like we always swap back and forth the different tools that we use and stuff. But he's somebody you should definitely plug into. Yes. I think it would be great. He's awesome. And I know like you're at that level, and I know we've talked about it's kind of up in the air, but we scheduled something. We might be, hopefully we'll see, we'll hold ourselves accountable for like a mastermind or something. If we're able to do that, we're going to try to do it here in a couple of weeks with another buddy as well and see what we can do.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So we're not to 2025 yet, but have you thought about it? I mean, we're in Q4, getting close to Q4, right? What is that looking like for you? That's going to be year 8.
I know. I am about to start goal planning for 2025. I always do it way too late. And so I am starting.
It's good that you do it at all, really.
September to give myself plenty of time to be able to go do it. So that's my focus for this month, is to be able to goal set for 2025. So I think it'll be interesting. It's going to be a little bit different than what I initially projected. We've accomplished our foundation items of what I wanted to do this year. So I was able to hire a fractional operations person as well as a fractional CFO for our finances and our financial analysis. So I've got a really cool trio with me and those 2 people to be able to tackle those 3 aspects of my business, which has been really awesome. And so we've had a lot of operational projects going on. I've got an amazing team for the first time ever. Like, I've got such a good team. I'm so proud of them. I love them. Couple of them have been with me for 5 years.
Wow.
If not longer. Yeah. So
Very cool.
I've got a really solid team, and I'm so excited to be able to grow them and scale them and be able to do that. So what I had originally wanted for 2025 was to be able to significantly scale. This year was all about laying that foundation for both our brand awareness and our marketing efforts. So we've been doing a ton of marketing for our own company to be able to drive those leads and grow that brand awareness, because I have big goals of being able to grow and continue to get out in that world. But also make sure that our company can withstand it. So something that we're going to do at the end of this year is something called stress test our systems. So we're going to go run through those little simulations of, if we do hire a new person, if we do onboard 3 new clients, like, can our systems withstand it? We actually broke our web design system this year.
Wow.
From this, because we ended up getting too many web design clients at once, and it broke. And so we had broke, meaning my web designer, who's amazing and so creative and able to produce just incredible websites. She's amazing. She was scheduled out in ClickUp for 80, 90 hours of work every single week. We just had too many projects going at the same time. So we had to analyze what we thought was a really good system. We had it all templated out, same thing that we normally do. And we had to figure out, okay, how can we be more efficient with our time? How can we reduce any unnecessary tasks? How can we find tools and systems to be able to complement the work that we're doing? How can we take manual labor out of the equation and be able to automate some things? How are we able to continue to deliver excellent client experiences and be able to streamline project management and client communication? How are we able to project workload a little bit better and a little bit more advanced in our sales system, so that when we're quoting websites, we can give accurate start dates, so not to overwhelm our systems and our people? So questions I never thought to ask. things that would have never been on my mind had we not actually done it. So the goal for the rest of the year is to do hypotheticals instead of real situations.
Yeah.
Because I ended up having to hire a web design intern to be able to handle the overflow. So we decided to teach and be able to bring somebody on to be able to handle that overflow. And so that was a really urgent situation. I had to make that quickly. It wasn't my ideal next move. But we did it. We were able to, again, get through that very painful scenario. But she almost got burnt out. And so the same way that entrepreneurs get burnt out, so do our employees. And so how do we build successful systems that protect them as much as it protects us? Because they're the ones now delivering client work. So how do we protect them? How do we build a culture that supports them and allows them to be the best at what they do? And how do we as leadership be able to understand our business so well that we know when it's time to hire, that we know when a system is breaking and we can go and fix it? How are we able to be accountable at the end of the day for how our business runs and operates? It's just a really strange place, but it is so exciting to be able to ask and answer those types of questions.
Yeah, you could tell you've really been thinking about it too, because the last conversation we had, it was like a completely different conversation, but now you're really in this for the scaling and like all the systems in place to do what you need to do to take on a massive scale. And shoot, who knows what 2025 has to hold for you? You never know,
Who
right?
knows?
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about the podcast too, right? Because you've mentioned a couple times here, and I know you've had some guests on there. I know we're getting close to wrapping up, but I want to make sure that we give that some airtime as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so it's called the Succeeding Small Podcast. My company name is Succeeding Small. So it's branded within that, but it is meant to be that all-in-one place for people who are trying to scale into success, for people who want that vision. They see it, they want to succeed, they love their business and what they do, and they need the tools to be able to figure out how to get there. So in order to run a successful business, you need to understand systems. You need to understand finances. You need to understand leadership. You need to understand marketing. You need to have, not to say that you need to do all those things. In fact, that is very counterintuitive to scale. But you need to have the basic skill set and the knowledge to be able to fill the gaps in your organization to be able to grow it to that next level. So that's what this podcast is. It's to be able to talk about all those different content pillars to give businesses that avenue, the bite-sized piece of information that they need to make a change in their business tomorrow, to be able to help get them one step closer to that end vision of success. So we have had Brandon Kirk on, who's a sponsor of your guys' podcast, Planet Duct. He's been a client of mine he's pretty much one of my very first clients. So he's been my client for a very long time. Yes. And so it was such an honor. But we talked about scaling your business to sell. So if selling your business is on your mind, here are the things that you need to do today to be able to achieve that successful scale. So it's so much fun to be able to do that. I've done steps on how to be able to leverage local SEO and conversion rate optimization. So bringing in those marketing aspects, which is just my biggest passion point, and being able to teach business owners that level of things. The episode I'm working on right now is what is scale? How do we define it? What goes into it? We talk about it a lot. It's kind of that buzzword, but what actually is it? And so how do we get real with it and be able to put tangible, actionable steps into our business to be able to accomplish it?
Yeah, it sounds like you've really defined it, especially when you were defining it earlier, like scale. You had a really pinpoint way of how you defined it for you and how it fits into your business.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on again. Like we always enjoy your time. You're a close friend outside of this too, so it's great to have you on. We'll have to make it like a yearly thing, most definitely. Is there anything else, brother, that you have?
No, I think this has been great. Yeah, it's been amazing having you back on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is your camera, so give them the details.
Okay. I am Madeleine Costa. I own and operate a marketing agency called Succeeding Small, where we help service-based small businesses grow into that success. So we offer search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, and web design to be able to bring traffic and get that traffic to actually convert into revenue so you can continue growing your business. You can find me on any social media platform. I'm most active on Facebook, either at Madeleine Costa or Succeeding Small, and be able to engage with our podcast, the Succeeding Small Podcast. We're on all major platforms. We've got a YouTube channel with some video content out there. So we look forward to helping you achieve your small business dreams.
Well, awesome. This has been an amazing episode. So this has been the COS Business Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
That was good. That was perfect.